What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RC's Gateway to Comics. Today we are going to be comparing two things: a condensed storyline and an overarching storyline. Both of these are something that you will want to keep in mind whenever you are creating a story. And I'm going to give you guys examples based on my current story that I'm working on. So, the condensed story is something that you may see in a singular book. And this is a story where you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's all nicely wrapped up in a bow. There's no real loose ends that need to be tied up at the end of the story. It's all a singular story from beginning to end. Nothing really needs um, nothing really needs explained. It's done. It begins, plays out, and it's done. The overarching story is something that is a bit more prevalent in series work. And this is something that if you look at a series, you're going to probably see both of these. You'll probably see each book will have its condensed story because there will be stuff that's going on in that book, and you can pick it up and you can read it and you can think of that book as a standalone story. But if there is an overarching storyline, then there may be some things in that standalone book, per se, that may be unresolved. It may need some further explanation down the road. It may plant some seeds in your mind that there is more to this story than has been told to me. And at least for me, to toot my own horn a little bit, the Red Sky series is a perfect example of that. That's my pirate story, 5-book long series that I put out several years ago, and I'm continuing to work on at this moment. So, with each story in the Red Sky series, I have the Pirates of the Red Sky going and searching for treasure or a person, or they have a goal in mind, and they meet villains along the way. There's a different villain for each book, and there's a different magical item for each book. And at the end of each of those books, there is a definitive ending for that storyline. In A Red Sky's Upon Us, the pirates are going searching for treasure. They encounter an evil mermaid who has a magical necklace that gives her powers so that she can fight against the pirates. And they have to find a way to destroy the necklace and destroy the mermaid. That story is done at the end of the story. That standalone story is done. And I would like to say that, and I would like to think that if you were to read this as a standalone book, you would still be satisfied. However, there are some parts to the story that allow for an overarching storyline to build from it. I have the mermaid with an emerald necklace that has magical powers. How do I build upon that? The necklace isn't the only item that has magical powers. So the pirates will have to go and search for those magical items in future books and try to rid the world of them. The romance between Captain Riggs and Julia Hammond, the daughter of the Commodore, is something that will be built upon. There's a scene at the end of the story that lets the reader know that other stories are going to be diving into how this relationship is going to progress. There's little tidbits of information sprinkled into even little bits of dialogue that show you that maybe there's another villain building up in this group of people. And just little bits that can turn into an overarching story. Even stuff like in later books I mentioned mythologies and dive into that further. All this stuff can lead into overarching stories throughout a series. And this is something that you can do through fiction novels or even through comic books. What I would say, though, is that you want to make sure that whenever you're first starting, you want to make sure that your books are presented in a way that they can be standalone books. And whenever you have your audience's attention and you are shown that, yes, they want to really continue on this journey with these characters, then you can maybe pull back a little bit from the standalone stuff and incorporate more of the overarching story. So, whenever I was working on these 5 books, I routinely say to people who want to get into them, if you read book 1 and you're done, you're fine. If you read book 1 and 2 and you're done, you're fine. If you get to book 3, then you're going to want to keep reading more. Not to say that you don't want to keep reading more after 1 and 2, but those are mainly standalone stories. Whenever you get to 3, that's whenever the overarching plot hits full gear. And you have to read book 4 and book 5. And a lot of the stuff does factor into each other a lot more. But if you are just starting, this is my opinion, stick with making the standalone story and sprinkling in the overarching plots. Now, whenever you get on down the road in your story, then it's going to be much more important that you bring the overarching story to a close. And your readers will be much more interested in seeing the end of that story. So what my final thoughts are with the whole standalone versus overarching story is that if you want to make a series, focus on doing the standalone stuff first and foremost, and build up the overarching stuff in the background until you are forced to put it into the foreground, maybe later on in the series, because that's whenever people will have noticed all this stuff that has come before it, and they'll be much more likely to want to see that satisfying conclusion at the end of that overarching story. And that's something that could even draw you out from maybe like the second to last book in the series, or maybe even like the last couple books in the series, because people will want to see what happens. Because all of that build-up of what they have seen before, they'll finally be getting answers to it at the end. What are you guys' thoughts on standalone versus overarching stories? Let me know that down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel so that we can continue to bring more videos like this to fellow creatives like yourself. Also, if you enjoy pirate stories, then check out my books, the Red Sky series, available on Amazon and Kindle. If you do decide to check them out, I hope you really enjoy them. Thank you guys all for watching, and I will see all of you in the next video. Peace out.